The Wealthy Life is brought to you by investment dealer Raymond James. Life well planned. See what a Raymond James advisor can do for you.
With us today is Deborah Todd, a lawyer who specializes in family law, to share some advice when it comes to marriage and divorce. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you.
I tell you, talking about marriage is maybe a little more fun than talking about divorce. Both are costly, though, aren't they?
Both are costly, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into law?
Oh, gosh. Well, I've been practicing now for at least 35 years, probably a little bit more. And 35 years ago, I was in university. Before that, I was in university, and trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life. My husband at that time decided he was going to go to law school, so I took the cue from him and pursued that.
Now, are you still married today?
No.
No. So it was your first husband that actually talked you into becoming a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then he's out of the picture.
Yeah, he didn't go to law school, and we divorced. So I've been through a divorce. I've actually been through 2 divorces, and now I'm on my own and happily practicing law.
So you know firsthand what it's like to go through such a difficult separation and divorce.
Yeah.
Is that help inspire you on pursuing this area of law?
It helps me understand what my clients are going through, definitely. It's a very difficult time in life, and I have all sorts of empathy for what my clients go through. So.
Well, I know that a lot of divorces end up in heated battles and arguments. Mm-hmm. Do marriage agreements help prevent that?
They're designed to do that, and that's what we try to do when we create them. The law now is, there's a new act in British Columbia called the Family Law Act, and it provides that if you are married or if you live with someone for in excess of 2 years, and then separate, you're going to basically share everything that you have. That means your assets, your debts, and your income. There's some exceptions to that, but that's the idea of the law.
So if you want something different than the law states, it's really important to have your own customized marriage agreement in place.
That's right.
How many people have marriage agreements? Is it common?
More and more now, particularly since the new legislation has come in. And I think across Canada, most provinces are bringing in similar legislation. So yes, people are trying to develop their own contracts to prevent the family law legislation from taking effect.
Now, what happens if you don't have a marriage agreement?
Well, as I said, you're going to be splitting what you have with your spouse equally, and that may be fair, that may be not a bad thing, but typically people don't want that. They want to protect what they have before a marriage or a relationship, and they want to protect their income if they separate. What
do you commonly see included in a marriage agreement? What are some of the topics that people cover?
Well, the law does try to provide that property that you bring into the marriage or into the relationship, you are able to take that out at the end as your separate property, but particularly in British Columbia, that law is very uncertain right now. Those cases are being challenged in the courts, and we don't know that those exclusions or those protections are proving to be adequate. So contracts do exactly that. They say, we typically attach lists to the contracts saying, this is the property I have when I come in, and this is the property you have, and if we should separate in the future, we're each going to leave the marriage with
what you brought
in.
What's mine is mine,
yeah.
What's yours is yours.
And
of course that's easy to do at the beginning,
yeah.
And I think this is when people should set up their marriage agreements, is when everything's blissful.
Yes.
Because at the end it's not, and yeah. I've seen too many of my friends go in with great grandiose ideas that, oh, if we separated, if we split, we'll be fair, we love each other. Well, guess what happens at the end? They don't like each other.
It's very difficult because you should do it right at the beginning, preferably before you move in together.
So is it a red flag if one person suggests it and the other says no, and it starts to create a battle before you even get married? Is that a red flag?
It is a red flag, and it is a battle, and it's a very difficult thing to do, but it's something that it's worthwhile doing. You might as well have that discussion at that point in your relationship before it's too late.
Well, and I think in having that conversation, even if it does create some tension, can be used as a deepening of the relationship. If you're not wanting to talk about what would happen, and I know it's not fun, it's like talking about death. Nobody likes planning or talking about it. But by talking about it, it can actually bring you closer together as a couple.
It can be a very good foundation for your relationship if you can survive that discussion.
Now, why? I think the reason people don't do marriage agreements is they don't like talking about it. They're uncomfortable. But two, it's a cost. Is it expensive to set up?
No, it's not. Legal fees are expensive, but marriage agreement typically would cost, let's say $1,000 to $2,000. So it's something that's well worth doing.
And can a couple go into just one lawyer and get it all done?
No, each spouse, each person needs their own independent legal advice. If they don't get that, the agreement will be overturned at a later date, because a judge wants to know when you're signing an agreement that you had a lawyer, that you understand the nature of the rights that you're giving up, and that you signed it from your own free will.
And I guess earlier you talked about how you need to list everything financial, your assets and your liabilities. I think children as well, you need to have a discussion about custody and who's going to look after the kids if you were to separate. And
not so much the children, because the courts will always look out for the best interests of the children, and it's very hard to predict where children will go. But really crucial is to have full disclosure of all your assets and all your debts when you're signing the agreement.
Do people get sneaky sometimes and not disclose?
No, typically when they understand the reason for it, they will disclose, because if it's not disclosed, it's not in the agreement, I just tell them it's not protected. So then everything comes
so
out.
If you try to hide something, you could get yourself in trouble.
Yes.
So what's the one piece of advice you recommend to people before they get a divorce?
Well, they need to go and talk to a lawyer really before they even discuss the separation with their spouse, because there's things you need to protect. You need to be careful about how you're going to divide your assets.
So get legal advice.
Get legal advice.
Deborah, thank you for being on the show today. It was great having you.
You're welcome.
And don't go away, because when we return, learn how to pay down debt faster.